Hello everyone, we are Group 5. My name is Yuan Muzi, and my team members are Wu Yuting, Xu Heqian, Xiao Yupan, and Yu Wenting. At first, I'd like to ask you a question. When talking about the romantic love in Brazil, what words popping up into your mind? Maybe enthusiastic, passionate, or sex-driven, and so on. And what about Chinese romantic love? 3 words. Maybe traditional, responsible, and implicit, sensible, right? Let's watch a video first to see what other people view the romantic love in both countries.
I think maybe Chinese have less free love.
I feel that Brazilians kind of sleep around. They're very expressive and they're very showy kind of people.
In Brazil, the people in there always think about themselves, and they also want to have a passionate relationship with each other.
Brazil, as a Latin American country, is more passionate, while China is a relatively more introverted East Asian country.
Romantic love has become more prominent in China, and Brazilians tend to be very passionate and expressive.
Okay, we can see that everyone holds his or her own views towards this question. Let's come to our topic today. Is it a stereotype? Brazil's unrestrained passion and China's restrained emotions in romantic love. Our presentation is mainly divided into 6 parts. At first, we will give you a brief introduction of the culture of romantic love in China and Brazil, including the definition and expressions. Then we will compare these 2 identities to show the similarities and differences of romantic love between Brazil and China. Then we will figure out the reasons contributing to these kinds of differences and similarities. And the conclusion is attached. I think almost everyone are familiar with the culture of romantic love in China, right? Let's see a definition. In China's culture, romantic love often accentuates enduring love and companionship, according to Karandashev. I think this definition can summarize the love in China generally, but there are some changes in people's opinions from traditional Chinese culture to modern China. Traditional Chinese cultural emphasis on loyalty, commitment, and family values in relationships. However, under the influence of globalization and Western ideas, modern Chinese society has seen a shift towards individualism and the pursuit of personal happiness, which has led to a great emphasis on their own choices in relationships. There are some expressions in China to show love. The first one is traditional customs and festivals. There are some romantic festivals in China, like Qixi Festival and Lantern Festival. And in these days, lovers often spend time together to do some romantic things. And there are also some old poetry to show love. For example, we wish to be inseparable birds flying in the heavens. 在天愿作比翼鸟. And the second one is love tokens and symbols. For example, double happiness symbol, 双喜. Magpies, 喜鹊. And in modern life these days, we also use language and idioms to show love. And our teenagers are fond of using rustic love words nowadays. 无谓情话. For example, I want to buy an island. What kind of island you're hell bent on? In Chinese, it means 我想买块地，什么地？你的死心塌地. It's a little bit disgusting, right? And the third one is gift giving. In most countries, lovers often send gifts to each other to show their love. But there are some Chinese characteristic things to show. The first one is a true love knot, 同心结. This symbolizes wishing the knot good luck 100. And the finest one is food and dining. There are also some Chinese unique food. For example, in traditional weddings, the bride usually has red dates, peanuts, longans, and melon seeds. It shows wishes to the women to have kids early, means 早生贵. Maybe you're not so familiar with Brazil. Let me show the definition. The modern concept amor passion, as a modern confession of sexual passion with marital love, is evolving in Brazil, according to Rapon. Could you please guess the meaning of these 2 keywords according to the color I marked them? Actually, the amor is more enduring and lasts much longer, and the passion is short-lived. Let's see a dialogue between a Brazilian man and a Brazilian woman to see the gender differences about the definition. The man said,
I think it is possible to feel true honor for more than one woman at a time.
I reject this possibility and think honor as monogamous.
As married men, I don't believe that my infidelities threaten my marriage, because what I feel for the other woman is passion, whereas what we feel for my wife is honor.
Your attitudes implies your inability to experience true love. I view passion as useful and honor as enduring and mature, and my feelings towards my husband changed over the course of the marriage.
we can see that both Brazilian women and men can differentiate the two words, but actually the men are more challenged and confused to differentiate this. In Brazil, they often have a higher emphasis on reciprocal actions such as dancing together, going out together, and having good sex, and so on. There one special thing I'd like to share with you. The popular tendency of some Brazilian women to look for a romantic relationship between men from other countries, as men are more focused on sexuality, looking for a young and perfect body in Brazil. They associate Brazilian men with sexuality and infidelity, and foreign men would provide affection, companionship, and more loyalty. Then comes to the similarities. We conclude that there are three main similarities between these two identities. The first one is the importance of romance. Both see romance and love as an essential aspect of life and value the emotional connection between partners. The third one is celebration of love. Both celebrate love and have special days to express love, such as Valentine's Day in Brazil and Qixi Festival in China. The third one, the feminine character. Both have traditional gender roles. Women are expected to be caring and nurturing.
So next we will discuss the differences between Brazilian and Chinese cultures in romantic love. We can see in this table that their differences can be seen in the definition of love, expressions of love, dating culture, attitudes to infidelity, openness to partners. Let's take a closer look. In Brazil, love is defined as intense passion, emotional connection, and physical attraction. And as we mentioned earlier, the word passion differs from the word armor. In addition, physical touch, romantic gestures, public displays, and exhibiting warm and expressive interpersonal behavior are common in the expressions of romantic love in Brazil, and dating is often seen as a casual and fun process, like a way to have fun and socialize. They have a more relaxed attitude towards infidelity in relationships, and some people may have a more open approach to non-monogamous relationships. In contrast, China places a greater focus on social and cultural standards, shared responsibility, emotional connection, and long-term commitment in romantic relationships. Expressions of affection tend to be more subdued and reserved, emphasizing physicality, devotion, and commitment. Dating seen as a more serious and concentrated process, focused on finding a lifelong spouse as well as establishing trust and respect. Infidelity is seen as a major breach of trust in China. Finally, Brazilians are more open and accepting of partners from different countries or cultures than Chinese. Brazil's demographic composition is complex. According to 2021 United Nations statistics, the proportion of people of mixed race reached 43% in Brazil, and above all, these differences reflect the unique cultural values and traditions of each country. Okay, so how can we account for those similarities and differences? It can be explained from two aspects, cultural and colonial context. Based on hostile cultural dimensions, Z and J say that both cultures have a collectivist tendency, with Chinese culture emphasizing group-oriented and interdependent self-perception, guided by Confucianism, while Brazilian culture places people in large, cohesive groups from birth. And secondly, both countries have historically patriarchal societies. Patriarchy is at the core of traditional Chinese families and societies. In Brazil, gender disparities were heavily influenced by the patriarchal traditions of Arabian culture during the colonial period, with women subordinate to men in both family and social relations. Thirdly, China is considered long-term oriented, valuing patience, tolerance, and perseverance to achieve future goals, while Brazil tends to focus on the present. And religion also plays a role, with Chinese people's common atheistic beliefs and traditional values shaping their attitudes towards love and relationship, while Brazil's Catholic tradition heavily influenced gender relations, love, and marriage. Besides, the colony is another important explanation. Brazil was ruled by Portugal throughout the colonial era. The European value had an impact on the nation's social and cultural traditions. While China was never a colony, it experienced numerous foreign inventions. China's modern romantic love is a blend of Western and traditional Chinese characteristics. So, based on the above explanation and analysis, let's look back to the beginning. Is it a stereotype? Results unstranded passion versus China's restrained emotions in romantic love? Well, it is true that Brazilian emphasizes intense passion, emotional connection, and physical attraction, and the Chinese emphasize social and cultural standards. However, we can also find that they both see romance and love as an essential aspect of life and value the emotional connection between partners. As a result, there is unstranded passion in Chinese lovers and committed love in Brazilian lovers. Finally, let's discuss together which cultural approach to love is healthier or more natural. Well, in Brazil, love is typically viewed as a personal experience independent of other factors, while marriage and family are built upon this personal experience. On the other hand, traditional Chinese culture places greater importance on the opinions of elders and often involves more social pressures to consider the wishes of parents and relatives when making decisions about love. Additionally, material considerations also plays a role in deciding whether to marry. From a perspective that values personal freedom and independence, Brazilian culture's approach to love may seem healthier and more natural. And here are all our references and the close disclosure statement. That's all for our presentation. Thank you for your listening.